Good afternoon, everybody. It has been some days since we last discussed about the Bhagavad Gita in English. Okay, I started the discussion in English, but there was a request from my friends, relatives, and well wishers that this deliberation should be in my own mother tongue, my native language, that is Odia. So, in some episodes, I started discussions in Odia. But again, from some quarters, the request has come to do it in English. Whatever little English I have mastery on, so I'll try to do justice to both the languages. So far as this discussion on the Bhagavad Gita is concerned. Now, if I remember correctly, we are discussing about the Bhagavad Gita's relevance. Well, it is a comprehensive subject and it is a vast subject also, and we will be dealing with that in detail. I was telling the other day that it is the best crisis management book. I have been reading the Gita since my childhood. If I do remember correctly, being born into Brahmin family, and after the thread ceremony and the sacred thread was put on me, I think it was my fifth or sixth standard. And as it was customary in Brahmin families, reciting Sanskrit slokas, chanting Sanskrit verses was being done as the part of a ritual. Of course, it was not binding on me, and my family is some sort of, you can say, it is liberal in its attitude. But my mother, from whom I have imbibed a lot, because my mother was a voracious reader, and my reading habits have come to me from her. I think so. Well, she was insisting on me that I should read the Bhagavad Gita every day. And as was the fact that I was interested in reading, I started reciting the Bhagavad Gita from my childhood, maybe from my fifth standard. At the time, the Bhagavad Gita was used to be available in my own mother tongue, and the Sanskrit slokas were written in my own mother tongue script, followed by the meaning in my mother tongue below. Of course, now also in the same format the books are available. I think in every language that is available also. The Bhagavad Gita is also available in almost all the languages. Well, the other day I was telling that it is the second most popular book, or the one of the best-selling books, next after to the Bible. Well, so from a very early age, I was reading the Bhagavad Gita, but it was a mechanical sort of reading. I was just reading it mechanically, just reading, and I was instructed to read it aloud, so I was reading it aloud, and then the slokas, then after the meanings, this way it was going on. And it went on for 2 3 years. And when I came to read in matriculation, and for the first time Sanskrit was introduced, I developed some sort of interest to understand it literally. Well, there are verses followed by the overall meanings, but I thought that that had not been enough. So I wanted to be serious about the Bhagavad Gita, to get deep into that. You see, in matriculation classes, whatever Sanskrit was being taught, it was some sort of rudimentary, not uh, uh, in-depth studies were imparted. But still, I was much interested to know the meaning, and then I went deep into that. And with the age, some sort of, curiosity developed in me. Three fundamental questions, they started haunting me. So far as reading of the Bhagavad Gita is concerned, three fundamental questions. Well, uh, this writing of the Bhagavad Gita is still debatable. Some say it was the part of the original Mahabharata. Some say it was a later addition. Something like that. But well, those controversies apart, what struck me in a big way, that the gospel and the doctrine of the Bhagavad Gita itself, it was impeccable poetry. There is no doubt about that. Yes, it was impeccable poetry so far as Sanskrit poetry is concerned. But then these questions started haunting me. And they are like this. The first question is, or rather was, that both Sri Krishna and Arjuna were the closest peers, very good friends, as we learned from the Mahabharata. Well, Sri Krishna was very close to all the Pandavas, but Arjuna was his very close friend. Both of them might have roamed inside the garden, in the forest. They must have taken food together, as normally happens in case of close friends. We do chat a lot whenever we friends. We sit together over a cup of tea. We chat. We go on talking a number of issues. And perhaps in the same manner, both Sri Krishna and Arjuna might have been doing that, closely chatting. So, this Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna could have told Arjuna at that time why, after all, he chose the battlefield to describe this impeccable, unparalleled gospel. Dibya Gyan. Guhyat Guhyatamam. That's what the Bhagavad Gita says. The divine knowledge. It could have been imparted to Arjuna much before the war started. But on the battlefield, just before the war commenced, Sri Krishna told him. Well, the background we know. There was a dejection in Arjuna. There was a complete mental breakdown in him. And he was not willing to fight, to take part in the war. That apart, whatever this knowledge could have been imparted to Arjuna much before? This is the number one question. And the number two question uh, is more relevant also. And the number two question is this: when it was decided that there was no other way except war, because under no condition Duryodhan was ready to part with Indraprastha, or for that matter, even 5 villages also, as per Sri Krishna's request. So war was decided. And when war was decided, all the arrangements were made. Arjuna must have been aware that he would have to take the most important role in the war. Yes, because he is one of the best warriors of the Pandavas, Bhim and Arjuna. They are the warriors. Well, with his bow and arrows, and Arjuna, the best disciple of Dronacharya. So he would have to take a major role. This might have been known to Arjuna. And everybody was clear of the fact, including Arjuna himself. In spite of that, why the dejection, the mental breakdown, a dilemma came to him? In spite of his all preparations, mental preparations rather, why this thing came on the battlefield? This was the second question. Well, these three questions are entirely personal, but I find that these three might have been the case with others also. So this was the second question. And the third question that haunted me is, Sri Krishna insisted on Arjuna's participation in war. Time and again, he told Arjuna to fight, participate in the war. The battle, as he was Kshatriya, and it was Kshatriya Dharma. It was a warrior's duty to fight. So when Sri Krishna, the God incarnate, insisted that Arjuna would fight, so is it not a fact that the God himself believed in violence? Ahimsa paramo dharma. This is the message our culture, our scriptures, our dharma gives to the world. But now here, the God himself is insisting on war, on violence. Isn't it far-fetched? Isn't it unbecoming of God? These three questions started haunting me since I started reading the Bhagabadgita seriously. The first one, I would repeat that why Sri Krishna chose the battlefield to describe a tale, this Divyagyan, this divine knowledge to Arjuna on the battlefield. Number two, why Arjuna, despite his knowledge, despite his being aware that he had to take a major role in the war, the dejection came on the battlefield. And third, the God incarnate insisting on violence is a little bit too far-fetched. So, in the next episode, we'll be trying to dealing with that. We'll be trying to deal with that.